I'm just trying to outrun her on the apps. She's got me on this app called marriage.com. It's very aggressive. Shani.com. These are not jokes, help me.
Welcome to Wild and Sublime, a sexy spin on infotainment, no matter your preferences, orientation, or relationship style. Based on the popular live Chicago show, I chat about sex and relationships with citizens from the world of sex positivity and comedy. You'll hear meaningful conversations, dialogues that go deeper, and information that can help you become more free in your sexual expression. I'm sex educator and intimacy coach, Karen Yates. Our monthly Patreon supporters pay for a large part of our operating expenses. Their contributions from $5 on up help us big time. Plus, members get discounts on show tickets and merch and receive Wild and Sublime news before anyone else and more. Interested in helping us spread the message of sex positivity? Go to patreon.com/Wild and Sublime. Sonal Aggarwal is a stand-up actor, artist, and producer of the live show, The Theory of Comedy, here in Chicago. She grew up in the southwest suburbs of Chicago, then after college began traveling the world, eventually finding herself in India, living a life as an artist and MC. She's also making me crack up right now. In 2016, after a motorcycle accident, she returned to the U.S. and while in recovery, realized she was meant to do stand-up comedy. Sonal now performs on many Chicago stages and was repeatedly recommended to me by a ton of comics to come on this show. Welcome, Sonal, or should I say, namaste.
Namaste. You shouldn't say namaste ever. No one should ever
see,
say that.
This was on your website. Namaste. Please stop saying it if you are not saying it right. What is...
That's for you.
Right. I know it is for me, a white person. Or a person that is not... I mean,
it doesn't have to be a white... It's an easy word to say, namaste. It's not like Ramayana. It doesn't have like Aggarwal. It doesn't have any weird... sounds that are outside of the English group of phonemes.
But it's basically no one should say it, except...
You can say it, but ask how to say it and, investigate.
Okay,
instead of... There's a lot of entitlement around namaste. That's an assumption there.
I actually looked it up on multiple platforms.
And it says namaste everywhere?
No, it was namaste.
Yeah, I would have to hear the platforms because it's namaste. Namaste, like the emphasis on the second syllable. Right. Namaste. It's a pretty universal, greeting. It's like, hi, what's up? This is great. The divine light, whatever. You want it, however you want to interpret. It's shining me.
It's shining you. You're the teacher.
If you feel that when you say it, that's great. That's a vibration that people should have and should not put on anyone else, especially if it's from outside of your culture. Just say hi. How about that?
So, hey,
what's up?
So I've had a look at a lot of your clips on social. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today was I don't think people understand maybe they do now because of the Netflix show, but a lot of the pressure that's put on people in India, young people, to get married. And that is a regular bit in your act of your mom and getting married. And what is that like? What is that like for you? She pressures you. Is this an ever-present thing? Has it kind of calmed down over time?
My current mantra or whatever you guys say, which is a really important concept. The idea of a mantra is just what does our inner dialogue look like? What are the things that we are saying to ourselves? How do we shape our inner reality? And mine that I constantly remind myself is that understanding is limited and love is limitless. Love is also a choice. Love is conditional, unconditional. With most immigrant household, it's very conditional. It's like you got to be not a homosexual. You got to leave the house, which is insane to me that people still care so much about who you're attracted to, as if it was a choice. I've seen some straight people, and it's like, maybe you could go gay. This is not cute at all. This is not a cute look. But anyway, and there's so many super cute gay Indians, and they have to live in sin or in hiding from their parents, and the lying just becomes really exhausting. I think that growing up in a household where I was lying about being at the library often, when I was even over at the neighbor girl's house. I'm at Julie Macaluso's house, and we're watching porno on her brother's VHS cassettes or something that was actually fine and normal in Julie's house. And her brother's like, don't mess up my tapes. Make sure you rewind my porno before you, don't steal them. It would have been something so unimaginable to tell to my parents. So from very early on, we're taught to protect their feelings and to hide our truth and hide our authentic experience because it would be outside of their realm of understanding. And that caused me to leave the country after my undergrad. And I'm like, I need to get as far away as possible from these people who won't recognize anything that I do because it's constantly measured against the people who are getting married. And that's still very much the reality. I mean, I just turned 40 and I made the mistake of, and I shouldn't say that. I made a choice. I spoke to my mom about this show on Amazon Prime called Made in Heaven, which I really recommend to anybody who's into any sort of HBO level drama show. And it's about this Indian company, and they are wedding producers, they're wedding planners, and they have to show the side. It's called Made in Heaven because these are very otherworldly weddings where there are multi-day events, and it looks so beautiful from the outside. It's very grass is always greener. And just without spoiling too much, in the very first episode of the first season, they're hired by this super wealthy, just disgusting wealth family that tells them, okay, now we need you to run a little private investigation on this girl that our son is marrying because we don't trust her. We think she's a gold digger. And the wedding planners are like, okay, that's not really our job. We're here to do like lighting and to plan the henna guy, and they're like, okay, well, we're not going to hire you then if you don't do this illegal, shady work. And then, of course, there's the drama that ensues. It's so much drama, all this in-laws disliking each other, I think is insane. And these like behavioral patterns where it's like, I have aunties that don't say hi to each other because somebody disrespected somebody like 30 years ago. And I remember as a kid growing up into these stories, like, why would you make a choice to stay mad? As a petty person, I feel like I try to investigate within myself, like, does this anger serve me at all right now? And if it doesn't, I try to do my best to release it through dance or punching or whatever.
So when you left the U.S. for India, you then came back because you needed to rehab your body after this.
I was in a motorcycle accident. I wasn't being treated properly, and I couldn't walk for over a year, actually.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And so you came back. You left to ostensibly get away from your parents, and then you came back, and now obviously your parents are a part of your life. They come up a lot.
And my mom is like, that motorcycle accident was the best thing that ever happened to us.
Because you came back.
Yeah, and she makes a joke. She's like, I should have broken your leg like 10 years before that. I would have brought you home. And I'm like, haha, that's hilarious and scary. That's our whole vibe.
So, yeah, like how is it now you left, now you've come back, and I assume that part of this whole stew is this you keeping your own personal integrity in light of your parents' pressure. Is this true or not true?
To even be able to be more open and honest with my mom about things is, I think, really healing for both of us and for the community at large, because now, the age that I am now, the number of kids that have been lying to their parents the whole time. Their parents don't know anything about them. And even, I don't think he'll ever listen to this, but my mom's older brother, my uncle, his oldest son, my cousin, he was in an arranged marriage that led to divorce, and now he is in a cult and doesn't talk to most of the family. So I'm the chill one now.
So what is, can you explain a bit about the culture of arranged marriage for folks that don't know? Because I think a lot of people have heard about it, but can you just explain the phenomenon?
Even I thought that arranged marriage was something archaic that was more of my parents' generation that was no longer in practice until I was in my early 20s. And I was meeting people in India that were getting arranged marriage, and I couldn't possibly get my head around that. And I use that as, culturally, it's just something that's so totally different. I mean, imagine if you were just used to putting yak butter in your coffee. You know, like that would be so gross if you had never seen yak butter before, but then coffee without yak butter would be so gross to you depending on your cultural upbringing. And my mom, I told her I wanted to take her to a drag brunch, you know, because I have a lot of gay and trans friends and and as a queer bisexual person, you know, that's the communities that I'm in, and my mom's like, I think I would be really uncomfortable, and I'm like, Ma, you got an arranged marriage. People think that you're totally insane and backwards and from a village with one cow. And she's like, we did have a nice cow in my village. And I'm like, everybody, we just have different experiences, so you can be open to learn about people's experiences, or you can be like, that seems really weird and backwards and like you're from a village, you know. And she's like, I am from a village. And I mean, literally, my dad picked my mom from like a couple of photos, you know, and my mom is very like, because then I go on, there's a website called shadi.com, which means marriage.com. And I've been on a couple of dates with these suitors, candidates, they feel like job interviews, you know, and I told my mom, I'm like, Ma, I went on a date with this guy. He talked the whole time, which I don't know if you can imagine me being in a situation where I didn't talk at all. I'm a big talker. And she goes, you know, the first time I met your father, I didn't say anything for the first like couple of times that we hung out. So you need to lower your expectations. And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck, Sima auntie? Like, we no longer live in a lower your expectations, marriage is compromise, and, you know, you must suffer in silence because that is what it is to be in partnership, you know.
But when I went on shadi.com, because you mentioned it in a bit, so I went on and I was like, okay, what's going on here? Because at the bottom I scrolled down and I saw, like, first it felt to me like, we will deliver you a coupleness. We will do this for you.
100% guaranteed. Marriage, not happiness, but definitely marriage.
Totally marriage. And then I scroll down and then they have like thumbnails of all the couples
successfully matched.
And they're all in their ceremonial wedding garb, and they're just like smiling, and then it's like, dear shadi.com, thank you so much. Like the testimonial was, how can I say it? Like this is the most happy day of my. It's almost as if right after the wedding they put the.
Or if like an AI generated, you know, Chat GPT is like, what would you say if you had the best wedding ever? Write it.
Yeah.
You know, and then they just post it because you have to sell the product, obviously.
Right.
You know.
So you just identified as queer and bisexual, and what happened when? You're out, obviously, to your mother. Are you out?
I mean, she doesn't know anything about anyone that I've dated, really. Like, I've dated a couple of different Irish guys, like, from Ireland. And, I mean, not from Beverly, which is like...
Did you just say Ireland?
Ireland. That's how you properly pronunciate it. I don't know how you guys are pronunciating it, but... It would always annoy the shit out of Ronan, my ex. And I'm like, count to 3. I just like a man who can talk in a funny voice. You know, those guys are really committed. He's like, 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, what kind of tree? But I lived in Cork. I lived in County Cork. And I mean, I was being introduced as a future daughter-in-law by his parents to the entire family. Meanwhile, my mom thinks that I'm with a colleague. You know, she thinks that we're friends. She has no idea that this man is my boyfriend. And I called her, and this was the first boyfriend that I ever called her about. And I think it was 2009 or 10, and I was like, Mom, and I remember I was on Skype, you know, and that's like FaceTime, but in the computer, and I was on Skype, and I'm talking to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I need to tell you something. Ronan is not just my friend that I'm staying with in Ireland. He is my boyfriend. And she was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then she just like hung up the phone, you know, and then she called back within 30 seconds and she was like, if you get pregnant, our lives are ruined. And I just want you to know that you're ruining your life right now. And I was like, I mean, he's in the room. He's not in frame, but he can hear and see you. And I'm going to have to close the computer because you're making him uncomfortable. And you're making my little delicate Irish boyfriend uncomfortable. And I was so embarrassed. I was like, I'm so sorry. She's really nice. I mean, she probably never will be to you, but she's really sweet and nice to me, you know, because I'm her daughter. And she just, you know, if my ex was more into in alignment with like wanting to make lots of money, then maybe that's somebody that we would still be together. But I don't think so. I didn't want to. Visiting Ireland is great. Go visit. They got great fields, great rainbows.
One of the things you talk about how your mother's expectations are like lowering over time. Initially
that's
it was
really funny. She's like, I'm aging out of arranged marriage. She's like, maybe you should go out with more divorced people. You know, at least they have some idea of what they want. It used to be like, divorced people are losers. That's forbidden.
Right. And now it's like, hey, as long as you're seeing someone.
She was like, should I get a Tesla or should we freeze your eggs? I'm like, oh my God, get the Tesla. Don't bother. Why are we?
Seriously? Tesla or freeze your eggs?
Yeah, that's where she's at right now.
There's where okay. So she got the Tesla.
No, she hasn't yet. She's
still on the fence. Eggs, Tesla eggs.
I mean, I'm 40 now. I don't know whether or not we really need to go into the cryo department. There are so many kids around. Like, why do they have to be my biological kids?
Are you still dating?
I'm always. Oh yeah, I'm out here. I'm hoeing to the best of my abilities. You know, as a very emotionally present, because I think that there's a lot of value to bad dating. You know, there's a lot of value.
I 100% agree. So bad dating, let's talk bad dating.
What do you think is one of the values of bad dating?
It allows you to, the funnel was at once large, and then the funnel becomes more narrow over time, meaning what you accept.
Yeah.
So accept, and then you mature, and you realize I accept less and less and less.
And you get a lot of clarity about yourself.
You do.
And you're like, this is what I want. I want somebody that can be present with me in this here and now, and then go off and be present with whatever they're doing.
Do you find that's there's an abundance of people being present?
Absolutely not. No. What? Excuse me. I have to text right now, actually. Can you hold on a second?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that the amount of phones that people do when we have these moments of human interaction, because I feel like we're already on our devices all the time, and we spend so much time on our devices. I mean, I can't believe anybody takes out their phone ever when they're with other people. You know, unless it's work related, fine. But I mean, yeah, the dating that I'm on Field. Do you know Field?
Yes, of course.
Are you on Field?
No, I keep thinking, should I get on yet one more dating app? I have thought about it though. I
mean, the comedy of Field, as a comedian, the center of my universe is funniness, you know, and whether or not I'm investigating for jokes to do in my work or just to make myself laugh. You know, that's always been my primary motivator, and Field is so funny because the whole world of kink is so broad. You know, there was a comedian who had a joke about it who's like, I'm trying to get into kink, but how do you say I don't need to be like tied up and have a collar around my neck and be like, I'm somebody's pet. I'm into like a feather. You know, get a feather.
This is it. This is the thing I'm seeing, and or have been seeing for years on like OkCupid, recently Bumble, but like Bumble like doesn't even go there. Like OkCupid is gonna. Is
that the most vanilla of the?
No, that's the one that's most into poly. Like you can put everything out, but it's like you can't really gauge 100% unless someone is so out there. Like how extreme is the kink? Is it a feather? Is it, blood play? Like, where are you? It's hard to ascertain as you go through someone's profile, like just because there's questions that have to be answered.
Blood play, because you asked if I had a profile on FetLife, and I was like, I wish I couldn't even get through the login procedure because there's a drop down menu where it's like, are you a dom? Are you a dominator? Are you a dominator? Are you a dominator? You know, and it's like, are you a top, bottom, sideways, diagonal? Like there were so many options.
Clarity.
Well, I also think that then, I mean, if you are so specific, I want people to be open-minded to new experiences. But if you're already so decided that it's like, I can only fuck wearing my furry outfit from 1994 in this sideways position, and that's the only way, that's very specific, and then good luck.
But not everyone is that specific.
Right.
Truly. But the filtering mechanism was overwhelming.
I think sense of humor is something that I'm really starting to get a better understanding of as I get older. I think that men think that they want somebody who is funny, but they want somebody who thinks that they're funny.
Yes, 100%. 100% I will agree with you.
And they want their own jokes to be laughed at because they're insecure in themselves and can't be, because I laugh at a lot of stuff that I don't have any expectation of anyone else laughing at. I'm like, that one's for me.
Well, and also I just find with humor in general, if people put on their profiles, sarcasm is my sense of humor. I'm like, no, actually, you're angry.
And you're deflecting, and you're not good at communicating your needs.
Right. So, yeah. So the funny thing is a very weird subject. We'll return to our conversation in a moment. Just a few simple sentences can change your intimate life. Want to know what they are? Download the free guide, Say It Better in Bed, 3 practical ways to improve intimate communication, to get easy tools to put into action immediately. Go to wildandsublime.com to get yours.
I have a girlfriend that just came in. She drove into the city from Bolingbrook, which is the suburbs. That's about 45 minutes away. She came all the way to an event in the city to meet a guy that she met on the apps. They have never met or spoken in real life. And he wrote in the app, "Do you want to come with me to this event?" And she wrote, "Are you inviting me?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm inviting you." Do you think that means that he's paying for the ticket?
Yeah.
You hear in...
No, it's an assumption.
It's an assumption.
It's an assumption. Because let me tell you this, and let me get this story straight. I remember recently someone that I know, an acquaintance, said, he texted me, because I do a show. Wild and Sublime is a live show. So he texted me and he says, I'm taking this woman that I've just met through the apps. I am taking her to Wild and Sublime.
Okay.
Are there tickets left? And I said, yes. And he said, okay, I'm going to buy my ticket. And can you just put her ticket on hold? And I was like,
what does that mean?
It means she has to buy her own ticket. Can you put her name? Like, he wanted me to do some sort of fandango where he would purchase his own ticket, but then she would purchase her ticket, and he just wanted to make sure that the show wasn't sold out. And
ew.
And I thought, really? Like, I'm taking this person, and I thought, wow, that is I don't know. I don't expect. I'm one of those people that, like, in early dates, I don't expect anybody to be picking up the tab, right? I mean, that becomes a nicety that, can happen later on. Like, I'm just one of those people, like, first date, we split the date, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, we're generalizing right now.
Yeah, this is a lot of generalizing.
And if it's like, if I went on a date and you order a bunch of food that I don't eat, and then we're splitting the check, that's a goodbye forever.
That's a whatever.
That's a wrap.
Yeah. But I think this idea of like, as you just said, so I'm assuming she assumed he was what did she assume driving to this event?
She drove her dumb ass all the way from Bolingbrook, Illinois to downtown Chicago on a weekend on an assumption.
So then what happened?
She got disappointed and she got mad. And then he actually offered, she goes, well, did you buy my ticket? And he goes, oh, I didn't, what? No, I wasn't going to, but do you want me to buy your ticket? I'll buy the ticket for you. And she was like, never mind. And then she left. So I'm like, see, that's not even sustainable, because that's very emotionally fragile. If you already know that you're going to get mad and you're operating based on an assumption, then liberate yourself of that assumption and just get the clarity before you drive for an hour.
Well, for sure.
Even with friends that I know and trust, I'd be like, when you say inviting, do you mean like you've got my ticket covered, right?
Right. So, but let's go back to this moment. If he said then to her, would you like me to buy your ticket? If she said, yeah, that'd be awesome. I drove all this way. Then what? Then what's your take on it?
Well, he didn't offer. He was covering his bases after she was like, oh, wait, you didn't get me a ticket? Mm-hmm. And then it already feels like, well, now I'm asking you to buy me this ticket. There was no offer.
See, I think the way to always play these things is like, hey, do you want to come with me to this concert? The tickets are $27. Then it's like really clear.
Yeah, but you're like a smart, intelligent, beautiful woman. We're talking about stupid dickheads named... And I mean, to go back to the identity is...
I'm sensing rage.
I feel like you need to chill. I feel like you
Namaste, baby. My heart, your heart. We're in this together.
Do you feel the light? Do you feel the light? Get away from me. Karen. These Karens are staring.
We're not going there.
The Beyonce lyric?
We're not going to the Karen.
Are you mad at Beyonce?
I know, I'm mad at you for bringing up the Karen issue.
Well, it's yours. It's your issue.
I know, it's my issue. Oh my God!
But Jesus. Going back to the bisexual thing,
you are a handsome. Yes,
I have been on a few dates with women, and it's so hard because you're like, who's paying? Oh my God, you brought me a present. What the fuck? Was I supposed to bring a present? You know, and it's been so nice. And in terms of like who you vibe with, I had, when I was traveling in India so many years ago, I had like this 10 days where I was dating this girl for 10 days, and we were riding on the back of each other's scooters, and we were, just very intimate together. We were on all these beaches, and then she left me for this English guy on a motorcycle with like some bag full of drugs, and I'm like, okay, bye. You never loved me. And then he ended up being a psycho, and which I saw that coming from a mile away. I'm like, that guy's definitely
a bag full of drugs on a scooter. I mean, that.
I mean, there are a lot of nice people. I know a lot of nice people with bags full of drugs too. I'm like, that sounds like all of my friends. That sounds like all of my friends. I don't want to disparage anyone with a scooter with a bag full of drugs, but I'm not. It's so. As I don't know if it's as a woman thing, and if men just in general can feel attracted to way more things, or if it's like because their hardware is on the outside, the idea of like sticking it into anyone or like a piece of fruit is more. But as a woman, we're receiving. Mm-hmm. So when you're receiving, it's way more vulnerable. So who you actually feel open and who you feel connected to, because I can be very touchy. I am a massage therapist, and all these comedians think that I'm trying to fuck, and I'm like, oh, you wish. Disgusting. I'm just making eye contact, you losers.
But do you get consent before you touchy feely?
No. That's a very American concept. No, I'm kidding.
You grew up in the southwest suburbs. Come on, give me a break.
I mean, what do you mean? Like, I find that so awkward when people are like, "Is it okay if I give you a hug before I give you a hug?" Because there's a nonverbal communication, nonverbal consent.
But you consent. I mean, there have been people who have said, "Can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah, I mean, that's,
right?
I just find it more weird. Consent is so weird. I'm not anti-consent. Obviously, like, you should get enthusiastic verbal consent.
As a massage therapist.
Well, exactly. Like, that's nonverbal consent. Like, I'm not asking my clients, like, are you good? I'm going to touch you now. Because they'd be like, yeah, the fuck am I doing here? Obviously, you're going to touch me. Why are you asking? This is so weird. They have to sign a release form at ThaiBlossomChicago.com. Should check us out, because I'm not on the website. I don't tell anybody about the massage stuff, because I just get paid to go in and work in this office.
Gotcha.
My boss is Eastern European. She's totally bonkers. Her sense of humor is terrible, and she does, when she first hired me, she's like, if anybody asks for a happy ending, tell them, yeah, we got a guy, my husband. He's really good. I feel happy at the end every time. That's one of her good jokes. But then she
that's like, ooh, that's not even that. I mean, come on.
It's pretty funny.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Especially to address the topic of like, because everybody wants to know, but they don't want to ask. Like,
sure.
Do you guys do hand jobs? And it's
right.
like, no, but there are places that do that. Like her husband.
Right.
There are places you can go. And because I do Thai massage, I do a specific modality. So it's really interesting, actually, the topic of, if I was hugging somebody and I felt, even when you're massaging, you can feel when the central nervous system kicks on right away. And that's when you're like, okay, let's stay here. Let's take a breath. Mm-hmm. And let's just do a little, like, we call it, shaking, where you just give them a light little shake so that you can release. Because once the central nervous system kicks on, then you can't really get in and do deep work anyway. Yeah. So you need to do a little reset. And it's crazy the amount of people that are doing terrible massage that are doing that, like, does that feel good? Do you like that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've done body work all my life, and I, trained in somatic work. So it's like,
awesome.
it is, when you talk about the central nervous system and going into this place where there can be some settling. Settling in, and none of us are, as we make our way. We have to be so intentional to get to that place.
And most people are so trained to avoid discomfort. And I've gone for a massage, and I was like, I was in a motorcycle accident, and my fibula was broken on the right leg, and the guy goes, all right, well, let's just avoid the right leg. And I'm like, let's just stop right now. That's exactly where I need the most directed work, and that's where I need your best intentions, and I need the deepest breath work, and this whole idea of avoiding discomfort is really such a terrible model, because now we're all just so scared to be the slightest bit uncomfortable all the time.
Yeah. And it's interesting, a couple of interviews ago, Ray McDaniel was on the live show, and talking about how discomfort is not harm. And it's this large idea that it can be applied to many different things, but just because we're uncomfortable in various situations, it's not that we're being harmed, but also when it comes to the nervous system, moving into a new zone, which can be uncomfortable, isn't necessarily harmful to the system. It can
be growth.
Right.
It can be growth. It can be surrender. It can be, we say things that to prompt the client, we say we want to be right on the edge of sensation and that feeling of pain versus pleasure versus release, and we don't want to stay in pain. And if something feels really uncomfortable, then say that's too much, but otherwise just take a breath and move through. We want to move through these sensations, that we translate how we address these sensations. If we address them as that feels ticklish or that feels intense, instead of painful, and that these things will pass.
Right.
And then there can be great release on the other side.
So do you find that being a massage therapist, some of these insights you've gleaned, do you take them into relationship? I mean, do you see yourself in maybe new situations with people being able to fall back on that? Okay, I'm going to just breathe.
Absolutely.
In dating situations, how do you see it manifest?
Even I would consider my relationship to the audience a very intimate relationship, and it's some of my favorite forms of jokes when you feel your body physically tense up, where you're like, I don't like this, I don't like where this joke is going, and then you feel that release and the surrender, and it's the laughter is almost bigger. I have an example. There's this white man comedian, and he's got this joke that's have you heard about these they-thems? And right away you feel your body tense. Right. I'm where you're like, whoa, my butthole just kind of tensed up, and you're like, oh no, what's he gonna say? And then he's like, as soon as I heard about these guys, I'm like, I gotta start hooking up with one of these they-thems, because it just sounds like you're having sex with way more people. How'd it go last night? Oh, they were very satisfied. And now you feel your heart open, and you feel that tension of this is gonna be bad, and then you feel, and I talk a lot of shit, because it's just, it's fun when you're bullying with the best intentions. I have this joke that's in India we say there is no abuse, only discipline, which is a joke. There is abuse exists also, but it is very you feel pain, good. That means you are feeling. So feeling is good. It means you are alive. So they say thank you, hello to the pain.
Getting back to the massage therapy in relationship, do you ever find, because sometimes I'll go into interviewer mode when I'm on dates, and I can feel it. I can feel the click in, and I'm
that's so funny. And you're like,
stop.
This would be great on the pod. Should I get him on the pod?
But do you find yourself going to, now I'm a massage therapist, I'm in bed with you, I'm doing massage therapy things. Do you ever find that happening?
I feel I'll definitely be there's a better way for you to put pressure on my inner thigh, And I'm
for health reasons,
and I'm let's pour weight, and then I start using these massage therapist modality technique stuff, and I'll be all right, give me a nice inhale. Oh my god! Nice audible inhale in through the nose.
Did you say audible inhale? One nice audible inhale.
The more you communicate through breath, the deeper I will come. Oh my God. Yeah. I for sure. And I'm I want you to massage, and I want us to both be learning. I love learning. I just want us to be learning. And I'm always if I am hooking up with somebody, I'll be sending them moves, because I do acro yoga stuff, and I was a fire dancer before.
Oh wow, okay.
I did stand up, so a lot of just exploration of movement, and how are different ways that we can relate to movement, and how are different ways that we can relate to each other. Because traveling, people are so scared because they're like, oh no, I can't go to Mexico, I don't speak Spanish, and it's like, you speak dance, you speak song, and you speak to be vulnerable, and to be. I love being in countries where I don't speak the language. I'm like, I'm excused, I'm dumb, I'm a dumb American. Just treat me like the dumbest person you've ever met. It's because it's a lot of pressure being an Indian person in America. People are like, can you give me a medical diagnosis? It's like, that's racist and illegal. Yeah, people ask us for medical advice all the time. I could literally just be like, you have lupus, and people are like, oh no, is that true? Yeah, it's amazing, the power, and infuriating. But then to be in other countries,
I'm still like, what?
Yeah.
I don't even understand why. Like, I'm
because
sorry,
we
stupid.
because Indians are allowed in this country because they got all the smartest ones, because of the 1965 bill that was passed, where it's like, let's get other immigrants over so that we can like spread out racism more and not have it be like so direct, the drama between black people and white people. Let's involve other races and disrespect them too, but make them feel good and pitch them on this American dream. And then they went and got like the smartest. That's why you see these stereotypes that Indians are doctors and engineers, because those were the ones that were allowed over.
Okay.
We got dumb people too, but they couldn't get it together to get their visas and their documents.
Okay. Now I understand.
Right. I mean, still, if you start to pay attention, like all of these shows, it'll be like, oh, look, there's an Indian guy and he's the doctor, or the nurse. And whenever it's like there are roles, and as an actor, you still get so many roles that are like, oh, nurse 1, nurse 2, doctor 1, doctor 2. It's like, what about the lead? It's like, no, they got somebody white for that, and that's still something that we see. Yeah, for sure.
So you're a producer of live shows. And so why did you become a producer, and what's that all about? And like
to get stage time.
To get stage time. Okay.
I mean, that's the very entry level answer, because if you're not at a position yet where you can be traveling around and just paid to show up and do the gig, then you should learn all of the bits of the gig. So, actually in my fire dancing days, I wish I had been more available to learn these lessons, because I was so focused on just technique and training and keeping my fire dancing, and whatever elements of that movement stuff. It was more like, okay, I have to hone the body, and I'm a performer, and then there are the people that produce and put on events. And I mean, the most successful ones that you see now, who are going to do a 3-month contract in Dubai or something, and really next level circus performers. I have a very, very good friend from Quebec named Pierrick Saint Pierre. I will very happily shout out Pierrick. You can look him up, Mr. Banana, the Mr. Banana show, and he does this performance where it takes him like an hour to set up a structure where he has a rope hanging between the structure, and then he gets up and he does a little tightrope walk on the rope, and he makes it look like it's much more difficult than it is for him, because at this point it's very easy. Mm-hmm. And he gets a kid involved, and then he finally gets on the rope and he juggles 5 balls just for a second. But that's the big crescendo of the show, and he has sold this show all over Europe. And that side, so he is a self-produced production team where he knows his tech writer, he knows what lighting he needs, he knows what audio elements he needs. I wouldn't be able to walk into a theater and I'd be like, this lighting is good, and I know if the sound is bad, but I couldn't go to a soundboard and be like, here's what we're going to adjust to take the tinniness out of the mic. You still need a sound guy around, or you need a sound person. And the difference between free events and ticketing events, I mean, I really encourage everybody to put on free events, because there's such an abundance of venues, and you can do a donation-based thing and maybe come out even or cover your costs.
Right.
And that's a great way of learning and a great way of networking. The rhythm of a good show, I think a good comedy show is between 70 and 90 minutes, and even that, it has to be really good show. Otherwise, the audience starts to lose the momentum and they get tired. And if it's one bad comedian after another, then, it's even okay to shut the show off a little bit earlier, because you want to leave on a high note. And, interacting with the audience is very different when you're producing the show, because what happens to a lot of producers is you're putting so much energy into the production, you're not thinking about your set. and you're not thinking about your material. So that's happened to me a lot over the years, where I'm like, oh God, it's my turn to go up and I don't even know what I'm going to say.
Well, it's interesting when you're talking about being a producer. When I was in school, working with very somatic things, I basically started putting my show together. And so I started thinking of it as a somatic exercise for the audience. Like, how does the audience, in a way, become the client from a somatic perspective? And that kind of changed everything for me about how I looked at producing. It's like somehow...
And so when you say somatic, that means through the senses.
Yeah, but also through, like, how is the audience experiencing this event in their body?
Okay.
Right? So,
Yes.
like, are they going to be jittery? Is it going to be activating their nervous system in the way, like you were talking about working with a client? Like, will it help them to settle? Will it help them? Will they feel comfortable in the space? I don't want people feeling like on that edge, in that unhappy edge. Do you know what I mean?
And you don't want people hot.
Right.
You don't want people melting. And because I didn't realize that theaters are so cold so that people don't fall asleep. I didn't even know that till recently.
Right. And also, like, if you're doing a summer show, you got to really, that's difficult because you just don't know what the elements are. So you just did a Theory of Comedy show, right? Do you have another one in the works?
Yes, which will be on my social media because they haven't texted me back about the September date. I know our October date is October 22nd, and I'm bringing a headliner over from New York, this guy Shafi Hussain, who is a Bangladeshi comedian, and he does just such brilliant crowd work, and I've never met him in real life, so this is really fun to get to experience your community and to build friendship and relationship through the craft.
Cool.
And I don't know if Shafi would consider me his friend, but you're my friend, Shafi. We haven't met yet.
So people can find out more on Instagram at Sonal Media?
On all the social media.
Okay.
Sonal
And
Media.
TikTok, whole thing? All right.
Yeah, I'm learning about the social medias. It's so funny to be a live performer because you also have to be a video editor and a sound editor and a podcaster and a lighting technician and all of these different things, and when you're like, nobody really thinks about all the behind the scenes.
No. Well, Sonal, thanks for coming on.
Oh, this was great. This was so awesome.
Wild and Sublime is supported in part by our Sublime supporter, Full Color Life Therapy. Therapy for all of you at fullcolorlifetherapy.com. Thank you for listening. Know someone who'd like this episode? Send it to them. You can follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Wild and Sublime, and sign up for newsletters at wildandsublime.com. Got feedback or an inquiry? Contact us at info@wildandsublime.com. And we'd love a review or rating on your podcast player. I'd like to thank our design guru, Jean-François Gervais. Music by David Ben-Porat. This episode was produced and edited by Christine Ferreira at the Lincoln Lodge Podcast Studio as part of the Lincoln Lodge Podcast Network.